So everyone, their mother, and their grandmother wants me to review the 2007 live-action Bratz movie. Apparently this film antagonizes a lot of people, except Stella. She likes it. I didn't even know it existed until I got my first request for it. I mean, I wasn't big on Bratz when I was a kid. I liked them and all, but it freaked my mom out that they didn't have feet, so we were more Polly Pocket kind of people. Anyway, as the requests kept coming in, I developed expectations as to how bad it would be. Now that I've seen it, I can say that it's basically a disgrace to humanity. I mean, I'm kidding. It has a couple redeeming qualities. I can see why a 7 or 8-year-old might like it, but on this channel, we like to make fun of things, so I'm gonna do that. First of all, the movie begins with this strangely creepy, magical music. There's not a second in this movie that warrants a score like that in the production logos. So the Bratz pop out of bed in true Disney princess fashion, which clarifies from the second the characters are on screen that this film is not aiming for realism. Things happen throughout the whole movie that just make no sense in a real world context. I mean, Mona has a secret closet behind her actual closet, so either her parents didn't notice the dope secret closet when they bought the house, or she's low-key an architect. And later she's changing in the middle of the school ground, and we're just supposed to believe her friends huddling around her is enough coverage to be unseen. My point is, the film feels like a cartoon, which is probably because the original idea was for an animated feature.
Originally we thought we were gonna do a fully animated movie.
And when I imagine this whole movie but as a cartoon instead, it makes so much more sense. Anyway, the Bratz are getting ready for their first day of high school, and they video chat about what outfits they're going to wear. It must be some like next level Skype though, because they completely abandon their computers. Then this one fights with her brother in the bathroom, which is a trope I'm tired of seeing. Is it seriously the only way writers can think to portray sibling rivalry? Anyway, after he leaves, they both run downstairs, so I guess she didn't need it that bad anyway. Next we're shown Sasha's home life. I guess her dad's really stupid because he can't figure out how the toaster works, so she's like, "Dad," and does it for him. Then her mom comes to the door and starts fighting with her dad, so she says the most forced line of dialogue ever.
"I'm the kid! You're supposed to be the adults."
Finally, we're at school and the clumsy one knocks over a bunch of bikes. I call her the clumsy one because that's basically the whole point of her character. Apparently, that's the only noteworthy thing about the actress, too. I mean, there's this video where the crew talks about how talented all the girls are.
Jade is, again, an amazing actress and an incredible singer. She plays piano. She's just ultra talented. Logan Browning, who plays Sasha, she was a find. A beautiful girl, again, who could sing and act and dance and do everything. Natalia is, besides being beautiful, she's incredibly talented.
She walked in, and the second we saw her, we knew this girl was special.
And for her, they literally just say,
Chloe is the klutz.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry.
And, you know, she knocked everything over in the room. We knew that was her.
You know, for the most part, I don't fault the actresses for being bad in this movie. Obviously, they were directed to act way too perky than is possible for a human life form, but this girl, I think, actually kind of sucks. So they huddle up and unnaturally discuss their plans for the year.
I'm gonna own cheerleading.
I'm gonna try out for soccer.
Yes, you have to join chorus.
I mean, can you imagine your real life group of friends saying stuff like this? Then Mona changes because her parents won't let her wear cool clothes, which is another trope I could deal without. Anyway, she flips her hair back and forth in slow motion. At this point, it was clear to me that the entire movie would be a series of things I'd seen before in other movies. It's like the Wattpad book equivalent of a film. Then we're introduced to the antagonist, who is simply the copy-pasted queen bee in all tween movies. She's easily the worst part of this whole thing. She even has a dog in her purse. It's almost like they had a checklist of cliches. I guess her whole mission is making sure everyone stays in their separate cliques, which is just a bizarre ambition for a person to have. I mean, I complain a lot about antagonists, but at least their motivations are usually minimally sensical. They're dumb, but not as dumb as this girl who just doesn't want certain people to hang out together. It literally makes no sense. I mean, if this movie's message is going to be that your friends can have different interests than you and it's okay to branch out of your regular crowd, then I don't see why they even needed, what's her name? Meredith? It would have been refreshing to see them grow apart because of regular social pressures or expectations of their new friends. That sort of thing really happens all the time. She even has this little booth that for some reason all the freshmen go to so she can tell them who to hang out with. I'm not kidding. They go as far as to give her a little monologue listing the school cliques. Most of them are standard, like goths and whatever, but somewhere in there she says,
You like to dress like dinosaurs?
as if that's supposed to be hilarious. That's this film's standard of comedy. Anyway, she starts talking to the principal, who is also her dad, shocker, and I don't usually notice stuff like this, but Homegirl's face changes expressions every time they switch shots. It's so jarring. I get that she probably made different faces in different takes, but if that's the case, they didn't have to edit it like this. I mean, it's only over the course of like 5 seconds. We didn't need 4 different angles in that time frame. Throughout the whole movie, the editing is too quick. It's like they're trying to give you visual whiplash to distract you from how ridiculous it is. Whatever. Then it's the brat's turn to be sorted by the human sorting hat, but they walk past the table. I mean, how dare they? The bell rings, so they have to go to class, and while they're all saying goodbye, one of them just says, BFFs, and I thought it was really funny. I mean, why not just state your relationship as you exit a conversation? Next time I'm parting ways with my sister, I'll say, siblings! So Mona wants to be in the science club, but this guy thinks she's in the wrong room because she's pretty.
Are you in the right room?
But it's fine because then she makes fireworks and he's like, oh yeah, she can do science. Then we see Sasha at cheerleading tryouts, and it's basically a 3-minute version of the tryout scene from the third Bring It On. I mean, they even say,
So bring it.
she does a little dance number that they edited like a fandom vine, by the way, and the captain is impressed, I guess. Next we see the klutz at soccer tryouts, and she's apparently no longer a klutz, so her one and only established character trait is pointless. I mean, this girl really is the worst of the 4. Every other one has been given a scene with their parents about their life, and all she's done is knock over some bikes and play soccer. Then Mona makes a dress for her teacher that she puts on in the middle of class and gets applauded for. Sometimes it feels like this movie is asking me to make fun of it. So then the other one, this one, Yasmin, stares longingly at the choir before some guy runs into her, or I would even say she ran into the guy because he was just walking, minding his own business when she turned into him. But apparently she would disagree with me because she starts yelling at him.
Oh, why don't you watch where you're going? Are you blind?
But it's okay because he roasts her.
No, but I'm deaf.
You don't sound deaf.
Well, you don't look ignorant, but I guess you can't judge a book, right?
I think we're supposed to feel bad for her, but during the scene I was just hyped that there was finally a character I didn't despise. Anyway, the brats roll up to lunch and Meredith tells them they should sit according to her seating chart because...
But the lunch courtyard isn't organized that way.
But they're like, nah fam, and decide to sit together anyway, only to immediately separate to their new friends' tables. It's almost like the antagonist doesn't need to exist. So there's this little montage designed to show how they've grown apart, but it's so rushed that you don't even feel for them. I mean, based on the moral of this story, this is supposed to be the downfall of the character arcs, which usually happens like late second act, but this is happening 18 minutes into the nearly 2-hour movie. It only takes them like 10 more minutes to make up and learn their lesson, which deems the rest of the plot meaningless. You only have to watch a half hour of this movie. Then there's a super unneeded montage of them traveling to school and the song playing in the back, which I've now found is My Life by the Slumber Party Girls. Opening lyric is actually,
I won't be late to school, it's 'cause I really care about.
I wasn't expecting to laugh at this movie at all, but that song got me. However, in all fairness, the soundtrack is the most successful thing about the film, and I won't lie, I saved the song that was playing while Mona flipped her hair, which was Express Yourself by the Black Eyed Peas, by the way.
Express yourself, girl, let it on and out. Just do your thing.
We get another short scene with Yasmin's brother, who, let's face it, is just a knockoff Rico from Hannah Montana, followed by yet another montage to display how they've grown apart. This whole movie might be a montage separated by random, uncorrelated scenes. There's this moment when the klutz witnesses Meredith kissing her own boyfriend, and she's visibly jealous despite the fact that they've never interacted. The audience knows he's a love interest because earlier when she was playing soccer he called her hot, but the writers must have forgotten she didn't hear that, so it's completely unjustified for her to be jealous about this when she's never actually met him. And he's clearly in a relationship. Then it's a school assembly when we find out there's a talent show, and whoever wins gets a scholarship. I guess I can't speak for other schools, but I was in the school talent show my junior year and only like 20 people showed up, half of which were my family. Whatever. All of the girls seem intrigued by this, so you can only assume that's gonna be the movie's climax. Yasmin runs into Mona in the bathroom and they talk about lip gloss, but Mona leaves and Yasmin says,
I miss you.
Aside from this being a really dumb cliche, it's also weird because she's looking in a mirror as she says it. It took me a second to realize she missed Mona and wasn't just saying that to herself. I mean, would it have been that hard to make her look in the direction Mona exited? Anyway, then Dylan, who's the deaf guy, has this cute little scene when he learns he can still enjoy music even though he's deaf. Once again, he's the only likable character. Even though this scene is still dumb in its own way, I mean, he confirms he hasn't always been deaf and implies he only lost his hearing in recent years, which means the fact that he can read lips so well is nearly impossible. Reading lips is extremely difficult, and even people who can do it only get about 30% of the conversation. You can thank my high school ASL teacher for that fact. This kid isn't even looking at the person he's talking to half the time. Okay, so now it's lunchtime and Meredith sees the klutz and her boyfriend approaching each other, so she sends her dog to attack. This results in the klutz dropping her food over the railing and, oh no, onto Mona. I'm telling you, every single thing that happens in this scene relies on convenience after convenience. Like, you expect me to believe that this dog has the comprehension levels of a human and the klutz's response to a little puppy nibbling her pants is to flail away her spaghetti like she's in an infomercial? And it doesn't get better as this hot mess of a scene continues. Oh no, because the next thing you know, Mona is falling in the trash because she stepped on spaghetti, as if wet noodles have the same slippery qualities of banana peels. The garbage has wheels, so she starts rolling away, but they edit it so awkwardly that you see her rolling before you realize she's in the garbage. For real, I thought she started floating away for a second. Then she runs into Sasha's table and throws her food over her head in the same fashion of that video of the old man in the recliner, which is just ridiculous because she must not have any motor control for that to be the outcome. Anyway, Sasha steps on a skateboard, which ultimately barrels towards Yasmin and takes her down too. The whole segment just comes off like a Rube Goldberg experiment. I mean, it's the most forced and calculated chain of events I've ever seen in a movie. Not only does the physics of it all make no sense, but the fact that they were conveniently the only 4 people affected by this is just crazy. I get that movies need convenience to drive the plot forward, but usually it only goes as far as people running into each other in unlikely places. This whole thing is just insane. Whatever, so now everyone is fighting, despite how obvious it is that the whole ordeal was an accident. Like, if someone drops their food on you, especially if they're a friend, you should probably be a little more understanding. I think this scene displays how unlikable these girls are more than any other. So the whole school gets involved in this food fight, but no teachers come to stop them until they knock over the statue of the principal, which the cast would agree is dumb.
You know, I tried to do a food fight in school and I got in trouble.
Meredith looks really happy about the food fight, which is weird because her whole character is based on wanting to keep lunchtime organized. All she wanted was to keep her boyfriend away from the klutz. Everything else was an accident, but whatever, we can't expect this movie to be consistent. So the brats end up in a detention room together and they keep fighting. Can I just say the burns or drags they try to give these characters, especially Sasha, are so dumb.
Sasha! You stupid cheerleader! You started it, clumsy. Queen of the dorks. Me?
Keep talking! Someday you'll say something intelligent!
I'm not a snob, I'm just better than you are, yeah!
I brought it, nailed it, lent it to my friend's kid sister, and I brought it back while you were still figuring out the beat.
At least we don't buy our friends with our daddy's bank account.
Anyway, they have a whole moment where they decide to be friends again, but it's impossible to care about because we're only 30 minutes in and have only seen them be friends through montage. Yasmin dances around with her mom and her little brother starts filming them, so you can only assume it's going to be important footage later. He looks all devious about it even though it's not embarrassing at all. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but nobody gets bullied for having a fun relationship with their parents. Anyway, the rest of the movie until the talent show is basically plotless. I was watching and trying to figure out what to say about any of it, but it was all just a series of unconnected, ridiculous events. I'm not even exaggerating. I mean, they go to lunch with some bizarre battle music in the background. They go shopping and talk about how Dylan is totally into Yasmin even though their only interaction has been him calling her ignorant. They give a bunch of people makeovers for no reason at all. Oh, you might be wondering why I haven't made fun of their outfits because I always do that, but Brat's doll outfits were pretty out there, so I don't really mind this time. Although I do think with how absurd and cheesy this whole movie is, they could have gone all out, like Sophia Nygaard in her Bratz video. Other dumb things happen too, like this guy gets in a fight with this guy because this guy hit on Mona and this guy keeps calling her the lady.
You apologize to the lady?
Mona tutors some dudes, the klutz plays soccer with Meredith's boyfriend, Meredith decides to throw a second Sweet 16 party, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, why couldn't the writers have made her throw any other kind of party? They make things way more complicated than they need to be. So Yasmin's idiot brother gives her the video of his sister dancing. Then the brats go shopping again, and this time the big drama is that the klutz doesn't have enough money to buy something new for the party. Apparently she thinks she can't go if she's not wearing something new. If I followed those rules, I don't think I would have gone anywhere ever in my entire life. But Sasha gives her a gift card, so the 30-second conflict is resolved. This is followed by a shopping montage, but I don't know what else you could expect at this point. Anyway, Meredith proclaims that nobody can come to her party if they're not in a clique, so the brats are like, okay, let's not go. But you can bet they will go. We get a completely unnecessary montage of Meredith having a spa day, followed by Yasmin singing alone until Dylan comes in and feels the vibrations of her voice, so I guess he doesn't hate her now. The plot finally gets a little more cohesive when they help the Klutz's mom cook for an event she's catering, through montage, by the way. The mom also apparently needs servers, so they offer to help, and that's when they find out that, oh no, it's Meredith's party. They agree to do it anyway because Senior Klutz needs the gig, but that means they have to dress like clowns. Apparently this is really upsetting because of their passion for fashion, so Mona brings out this stapler looking thing and makes the clown outfits more appealing. Explaining this plot is so hard because something new is happening every 2 seconds. It's so scatterbrained. While most movies have one overarching plot and maybe a few side plots, this movie hardly has a plot at all and just does whatever it wants all the time. That's why I say it reminds me of a Wattpad story, because if you don't know, those authors usually only have a vague plan and mostly write the story chapter by chapter as they post. That's how this movie feels. Like the writers sat down and said, we should do a food fight, a party, and a talent show, and filled the dead space with a bunch of random tween wish fulfillment. Anyway, Meredith has a musical number and invites Yasmin to sing after her, but Yasmin, as we know, has stage fright, so she goes up there, stands around for a minute before running away. That's when Meredith plays the video of her singing with her mom, and everyone starts laughing as if it's even the least bit humiliating. This type of scene is replicated in a lot of movies, and honestly, most of the time I doubt anyone in the audience would actually care. Why don't they ever have videos of the protagonist popping zits or something? That would actually be embarrassing. So I sort of thought the party scenes would be over after that fiasco, but it's still going, and Yasmin is just wandering about serving snacks like before, so the whole ordeal must not have actually bothered her that much. I thought the reveal of that video would be a big character moment, but she's laughing it off in the following scene. Whatever, Meredith falls in her cake, pushes her friends in the pool, and gets flicked by an elephant. The next day at school, all the cliques tell the brats that they're kicked off their teams and clubs if they don't hang out with them more. That's really not a thing that can happen in high school though. I mean, clubs are a free-for-all, you can't kick people out of those, and teams have coaches in charge of that stuff. The brats decide they need to win the talent show, no surprise there, and their group name will be bratz. And we finally get another montage. I don't know about you, but I was starting to feel separation anxiety from my montages. Anyway, Meredith finds out they want to be in the talent show, so she shows Yasmin all the dirt she has on them. I'll get into how stupid and meaningless the information she has later, but she basically tells her if she doesn't drop out at the talent show, she'll reveal everything. She doesn't ever say, though, that Yasmin isn't allowed to tell her friends why she's quitting, which is what makes it bizarre that in the next scene, Yasmin just pretends she's changing her mind randomly instead of saying, yo pals, Meredith is threatening us. So now we have this whole unnecessary plot where everyone is angry at her, but that's resolved soon anyway. It would have saved so much screen time if they'd just skipped this obligatory misunderstanding and gotten to the point. Blah blah blah, they decide to do the talent show anyway. Meredith sings this song about how obsessed she is with herself, I guess just to drive in the fact that she's the villain. And when she thinks the show is over, the brats come out, so she starts a slideshow to expose them, because I guess the projectionist was in on it. But the secrets she has on them are so insignificant that any high schooler would just be like, okay. She basically shows everyone that Mona changes clothes and reveals that Senior Klutz has worked for her dad.
Look, it's true. My mom did clean Meredith's house.
Oh, the horror. Anyway, the people of the audience start standing up one by one and telling their own secrets in the style of that one Ned's Declassified episode where they all call themselves Farticus. I couldn't find any footage of that episode, but please tell me I'm not the only one who remembers it. So they sing this really silly song called Gratitude and take turns kissing their love interests on the cheek because lip kissing is too scandalous. The weirdest thing is there is a lip kiss in the movie, but it's with Meredith and whatever that guy's name is. Seems like kind of a waste. They tie for first, which is weird because this is the last movie you'd expect to subvert expectations. Pretty meaninglessly too. I mean, tie endings are effective when you're connected to the other player or team, not when they're an annoying spawn of Satan who was only kind of relevant to the plot. But whatever, Meredith gets the title and the brats get the scholarship. Plus, some guy who works for MTV is there at a random school talent show for no explained reason and wants them to perform on a non-specific red carpet. Maybe that'd be the subject of the sequel they had planned, but I guess we'll never know because they only made back half their budget. The end. What a hot mess.